names and formulas of any substances. These are actually very important, very essential vocabulary in chemistry. Okay, in fact, in order for us to appreciate, in order for us to learn information about a certain compound, the first thing that we need to do is, of course, know the name of that compound. Ila-ilahon sa nato yung pangalan. And dapat we all know also what is the formula of that compound. Okay? Now, in general, when we say naming of substances as a whole, that is called chemical nomenclature. Okay? Chemical nomenclature po ang tawag dyan. Kapag naming of substances, may it be organic, inorganic compounds. Now, when we say nomenclature, this comes from the Latin words nomen. Nomen, ibig sabihin ng nomen, name. Okay, in English, that means name. Okay? Ibig sabihin, therefore, ng chemical nomenclature, that would be a system of names, a list of names. Para siyang listing of names. Okay? And to name most substances, we rely of rules. Okay? We have set of rules that we follow in order to name substances. So, walang problema doon. Hindi po tayo mag-wild guess ng mga names dito. We have rules na kailangang i-follow para ma-attain natin yung pangalan ng isang compound. Okay, so again, meron tayong systematic rule to follow. Okay. However, please take note that there are few, only a few lang naman, okay, few substances that have been known for a long time that instead of using their systematic names, we call their conames. Instead of yung following the systematic rules, okay, provided by the IUPAC. IUPAC is actually a organization yan. I think you're familiar with organization ng mga chemists. That means, you can write it, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. Sila yung nagpro-propose ng mga names, okay, nomenclatures ng mga compounds. Okay? So I repeat, meron tayong few lang ang mga compounds na common names yung ginagamit sa kanila. Okay? So halimbawa, H2O. Okay? H2O, 'di ba, ang tawag natin diyan commonly is water. Okay? That is the common name of that compound. H2O, that's water. Pero if we really follow the systematic name ng H2O, following the rules, this is named chemically as dihydrogen monoxide. Okay, dihydrogen monoxide. So yan yung isang halimbawa, no, pinaka-common na halimbawa ng substance with common names. Okay? In fact, yung common name na yung ginagamit, hindi naman tayo bumibili ng water na pabili po ng dihydrogen monoxide. Diba? So yung water yung ginagamit natin. So traditional na name ang atong ginagamit. Another example would be NH3. Oh, natawa si Miss Gia. Okay, NH3. Oh, yung NH3 naman, this is commonly known as ammonia. And ito po yung lagi nating ginagamit, no, to name that compound NH3. Ammonia yan. So, I think you have encountered this. Ammonia ka smell. Okay? So, yan po yung ammonia NH3. Yan yung traditional common name niya. Pero, yung systematic name talaga ng NH3 following is nitrogen trihydride. Okay, nitrogen trihydride. Recall that in your periodic table, I hope you have with you, your periodic table. Sa periodic table nyo, di ba, elements are arranged in atomic number. So atomic number, simula dito, 1, and then you have the second element on the right side, then you have lithium, pangatlo, beryllium, and so forth. Okay, so that is for atomic number. Parang pa-horizontal siya. Okay, then we also have a vertical way to group the elements. So yung vertical way, yan yung by groups. Okay, that's why you have there sa inyong periodic table na ay label nga group 1A, group 2A, ayan, group 3A, okay, 4A, 5A, yan. Yan yung vertical way to group the elements. Alright? Now, I want you to be familiar as well kung ano yung mga nasa upper right portion, ano yung mga nasa gitna, ano yung mga nasa left portion. Now, mind you class, na itong nasa upper right portion, kung ano ha, yung may division na kulay purple ba yan sa inyo or pink? O, ayan. Ayan. Yung division na yan, yung nasa right side, yan yung mga non-metals. Okay, ito yung mga non-metals. Ulit, yung mga nasa upper right portion on the table, on the periodic table, non-metals yan. So, i-familiarize lang yung common like nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, yan yung mga non-metals. Basta non-metals yan. So, you can have, kung naay mga uban, di ba nga, blessed with photographic memory. Tanawon lang nilang, dali ra din kay nila makuan nga basta kani nga element na siya sa right side, ana. Dili necessary nga inyo yung i-memorize ang chronological order, no. Okay? In distinguishing if it is a non-metal or metal. You can just simply familiarize kung nasa right ba siya or nasa left ng periodic table. Basta alam nyo na yung nasa right, itong nasa right, okay, these are non-metals. And then yung metalloids, ito yun, yung staircase, I will highlight itong kulay green, nakukulayan ko, yan yung metalloids. Yan yung mga metalloids. Diba? Parang nasa staircase line sila. So pag sinabing metalloids, they have both metallic and non-metallic property. And then the rest, yung hindi na kasali sa highlighted one, yung kulay red naman, yung papuntang left, yan. Ito lahat, papuntang left, yan yung mga metals. Ganyan lang. Kahit i-memorize mo lang yung nasa right one. Okay? Kung alam mo na itong nandito, non-metals, then the rest, most probably metals na yun. Alright? That will help you later in identifying the names of the characteristic ng mga elements. Okay? So let us proceed with names and formulas of ionic compounds. So simulan natin sa ionic compounds. Okay? Now, so paulit-ulit na lang yung compounds. Sige, breakdown muna natin yung terms na ionic tsaka compound. So recall kapag compounds, this is already containing two or more na different atoms or different elements. Okay, so nag-combine na two or more different atoms or elements. Yan yung compound. Na pag sinabing ionic type of compound, from the word ions, di ba yung characteristic ng ions, meron siyang charge. So this is already a charged atom. And ano yung dalawang klaseng charges that an atom may carry? Pwedeng ang atom may have positive or a negative charge. Now question, ano nga ulit tawag sa ion kapag it carries positive charge? The ion Cation, very good. Okay? Cation. Now, pag negative charge naman, pag negative charge, tama. It is an ion. Okay? So somehow you get get familiar, no, with these list of cations and ions, because from the first day ng class natin, I already provided you the list, no, of ions. So that is very important na somehow na-scan nyo yun, na familiarize nyo yun para mapadali na lang yung naming tsaka writing of chemical formulas, okay, ng inorganic compounds. Okay, so with this, na-define na natin yung ions, ionic, and the compound. Therefore, kapag sinabing ionic compound as a whole, this is composed of ions. Okay, this is composed of ions, okay, that form when an atom gains or when an atom loses electron. Okay? So I repeat, when we say ionic compounds, that is already composed, no, of ions, both cation and anion. Kapag cation, it loses electron. Kapag anion, it gains electrons. Now, another thing, okay, those atoms that gains electron, those atom that gains electrons, okay, they are mostly non-metals po. Okay? So, tandaan ha, yung mga non-metals, they form anions. They are the ones that gains electron during chemical reaction. O, tanong ko, sa periodic table, looking at the periodic table, saan ulit makikita yung mga non-metals? Right or left portion? Right or left portion? Very good. Yung mga nasa right, yun na yung mga non-metals. Okay? Right portion of periodic table. Okay? That is why going back to the list of ions, 'di ba? I have provided you list of ions. Tingnan niyo ulit yung mga list of anions nyo. 'Di ba? Yung mga anions na nasa lists, they are composed of non-metals. Okay? They are composed of non-metals. Whereas, kapag naman yung atoms loses electron, kapag yung atoms loses electrons, forming cations, then those are metals. Those are metals. Okay, sige, tanong ulit, nasa ang portion ng periodic table yung mga metals? Very good, nasa left. Okay, ito naman yung mga nasa left portion. Kaya, balikan ulit yung list of cations nyo. Balikan ulit yung list of cations nyo. Most of them, metals. Most of them, halos lahat, majority, metals. So take note, metals are the one that loses electrons forming cations. Okay? So I repeat, kapag ionic compound, okay, para ma-reinforce, no? Ionic compound, ions yung involved, so yung dalawang klaseng ions. You have a cation, anion, or this is also a combination of a metal or non-metal. Parehas lang yon. Okay? Kapag tinanong kayo, this is the type of compound which consists of cations and ions, ionic compound yon. Kapag tinanong, this is a compound which combines a metal and non-metal, ionic compound din yon. Okay? Ayan. So, bago tayo mag-name, mag-write ng formulas ng mga ionic compound, let us first know how to name cations and anions. Bakit yung mga na-memorize nyo na cations, ganun yung pangalan nila? Bakit yung anions medyo may mga suffixes na IDE, may suffixes na ATE, ITE, yun. Okay? So, let's first learn that. Okay? Starting with positive ions. And again, positive ions is also known as cation. Okay, they're also known as cations. Okay, so first consideration, under cations, I hope you have with you the list. Tingnan nyo, taga-discuss natin. Tingnan nyo yung list of ions nyo. We have cations that are formed from metal atoms. Okay? In which, yung pangalan nila, they have the same name as their elemental name. Okay? So kung anong pangalan nila sa periodic table, yun na din yung pangalan nila as ion kapag may charge na sila. Okay, 'di ba? Yung na-memorize nyo ng mga cations, halimbawa, Na, 'di ba? This is sodium. Kapag naging charge na, that's Na+. Yung pangalan pa rin niya, kahit naging Na+ siya, sodium pa rin, but may kaakibat na ion word. So, sodium ion. Okay, so again, most of the cations, we have cations kung saan derived from metal atoms. Yung name nila is the same with their metal names. Okay, so ito yung mga halimbawa nga. Okay, diba? Sodium is Na. Again, yung elemental symbol ng sodium is Na. Pag naging ion form siya, the ion form of sodium is Na+. How do you name that? It is still sodium ion. Okay, sodium ion. O, kapag sinabi lang sodium, kapag sodium lang yung sinabi, then that is just Na. Kapag sodium ion, okay, this is just a metal ha, kapag Na lang. Kapag sinabing sodium ion, may charge na. Kasi di ba ion are charged, is a charged atom. Okay, this is already an ion na siya, ion. Alright? So another example, you have zinc. Diba? Zinc, this is also metal. Kapag ion form na, Zn2 plus na yung ion. By the way, yung mga charges nila fixed yan. That's why I let you memorize. Okay, fixed po yan. Yung mga charges nila, constant yan. It corresponds actually to the number of electrons being transferred or they loses during chemical reaction. Again, that corresponds to the number of electrons they loses, okay, during chemical reaction. Okay? Ayan. Diba? Yung mga metal, they are the one that loses. Okay? Loses electrons. Kaya, positively charged sila. Positively charged sila. Okay? So, I have you have to memorize the charges. You have to memorize the charges. Okay? So another example, aluminum. Kapag naging ion siya, ion form Al3+, so aluminum ion lang din yung pangalan niya. Okay? And the rest of the examples, no? Marami pa yung nasa list niyo dyan. So mostly, again, cations from metal atoms, derived from metal atoms, they have the same name as their metal forms. Okay? Now, as you can observe, yung mga ions na to, etong mga ions na to, they are formed from a single atom. Di ba? Wala naman kayong nakikitang subscript. Ano ba yung subscript? Yung dito nakasulat, yung nasa sa may bottom right portion, no? Bottom right portion ng elemental symbol. Wala kayong makikitang subscript, 'di ba? Sa mga samples being presented in the screen. Okay. Now, if that is the case, they are termed as monoatomic ions. I repeat, kapag ang ions, they are formed from a single atom, isa lang. Kapag isa lang yung atom, then that is monoatomic ions. Alright? Okay, tanong. Is mercury 1 ion with a formula Hg2, Hg22 plus is considered monoatomic? Yes or no? Yes or no? Very good. It's a no. Okay, it's a no. Kasi nga, meron na siyang subscript dito. Hindi lang yung single atom ng mercury. In fact, Yung mercury 1 dyan, that is actually formed via combination of 2 Hg plus. Okay? Na-form yan via combination of 2 Hg plus, forming a more stable mercury 1 ion. Forming a more stable mercury 1 ion. Kaya yan yung representation natin ng formula of the mercury 1 ion. Hg2, 2 plus. Hg2, 2 plus, that is mercury 1. Okay, mercury 1. Okay, so that's the first consideration. Names ng cations mostly, parehas lang ng metal form nila. And with regards, again ha, their charges, memorize. You have no choice. You really have to memorize the charges. If you do not memorize the charges, you cannot even write their formula. Okay, kung mali na yung charge dyan na na-memorize mo, pagdating sa writing ng formula, mali gid mo pag-write sa formula. Okay? So yan, di ba? As you can see here, most of the metals, di ba, nasa left side. So yun na nga, yung mga names nila kapag nag-form ng ion, parehas lang din kung anong pangalan nila sa periodic table. O, tingnan nyo si magnesium dyan, di ba? Magnesium ion pa rin yung pangalan. Calcium ion, yung Ca2+, calcium. Okay? Ion pa rin. Okay? Yung strontium na element, okay? Kapag naging ion form, strontium ion yung pangalan. So, yun lang yun for the first consideration. Okay, second consideration in naming the cations. Meron tayong mga metal, okay, metals wherein they form cations with different charges. Diba? Kabantay mo pag memorize ninyo sa ions, halimbawa, iron. Si iron, meron siyang 2+, meron din siyang 3+. Dito papasok sila na consideration. Yung mga metals, yung mga cations na they have different charges. Okay? Then as you can see how they are named. How they are named? Diba? They are named wherein yung positive charge nila, yung value ng positive charge nila are given in a Roman numeral. Okay, Roman numeral form, which is enclosed in a parenthesis. Ganon pa rin naman yung pangalan ng element, iron, pero this time, naka-indicate na yung charge nila enclosed in a parenthesis. Okay? So, halimbawa, yung Fe2+, di ba, this is named as iron, then 2. Gi-enclose ang Roman numeral 2 sa parenthesis. Okay? Yung iron 3+, this is named as iron 3. Okay? And many other metals, okay, na pasok dito na consideration. Tama? Another example would be copper. Diba? Copper has a +1 charge. Copper would also have a 2+ charge. So, yun. So, when we name this, pwedeng copper 1. Okay, ito yung copper 1. Take note ha, don't forget to enclose the Roman numeral 1 in a parenthesis. And again, this designates, yung 1 dyan, that designates the charge. Parang clue na yan. Clue na yan na yung charge ng copper 1 is +1. Okay? Then, kapag copper 2+, that's copper 2. Alright? Sige. Now, ang mga metals na capable mag-form of cations with this different charges, most of them are transition metals. I repeat, most of these metals with variable charges, Most of them are transition metals. So kung babalikan natin to, yung periodic table, yung mga transition metals, ito po sila. Okay? Yung nasa gitna. Yan yung mga transition metals. Okay? Kaya kung titingnan nyo sa list of ions nyo, di ba, si copper, meron siyang dalawang charges. Ganon din si nickel, si cobalt, si iron, si manganese, chromium. Tama? So most of them nga capable mag-form og variable charges. Transition metals yun. Okay, transition metals. And again, memorize talaga their charges. Memorize their charges. Now, I want you to learn also the older method in naming these cations with variable charges. We actually have an older method no, to distinguish the two different charge ions of metal. How do we name them using older method? That is via using the suffixes os, okay, and ik. Okay, suffixes os and ik. Okay, so kailan natin gagamitin yung os? By the way, ano ba yung suffixes? Kapag suffixes sa English grammar, saan ba siya ina-add? Sa ending or sa beginning of the word? Sa Very good. Okay? So, etong mga suffixes na to, okay, these are being added to the ending of the root name of the said ion. Okay? So, kailan gagamitin yung ik? Okay, take note. Ik ending that represents the one with a higher charge. Okay, the one with a higher charge. Whereas, kapag naman os ending, the one with the lower charge. So, halimbawa, let's have, for instance, chromium. Okay, yung chromium. Dito ko na lang isulat ha. Di ba chromium is Cr? Ano yung dalawang posibleng charges ng chromium kapag naging cation siya? Kapag naging cation siya, tingnan yung list of ions nyo. Chromium has, tama, meron siyang 2+, meron ding chromium nga 3+. Okay? Now, from chromium, okay, yung pwedeng name niya, yes, tama yung chromium 3, tama yung chromium 2. Pwedeng ganon. Pero again, meron tayong older method and ginagamit pa din siya until now. Okay? So you really have to know this. So kapag Cr2+, then, di ba lower charge siya? Lower charge siya. So siya yung chromus. Siya yung chromus. Very good. Then the one with a higher charge, siya naman yung chromic. Yun yung ibig sabihin. Ang ik ending is for higher charge, os ending that is used to represent the one with the lower charge. Okay. Now, for iron, for other transition metals with a Latin name, okay, yung Latin name ang binibigyan ng suffix na ik at saka os. I repeat, itong mga ik and os ending, pwede din silang i-add sa root name, root Latin names of the elements. Halimbawa, dito ko na lang isulat sa blank page. So please copy. Halimbawa ng mga transition elements, kasi nga transition metals ang may posibleng differing charges. Okay, so halimbawa si iron. Yes, very good. Si iron, yung Latin name niya is ferrum. Okay? Yung Latin name niya is ferrum. And we all know na meron siyang dalawang posibleng charge. Diba sinulat ko kanina sa slide. Meron siyang Fe2+, then Fe3+. Okay? Tell me what would be the suffix I will add to iron 2+. Is it os or ik? Given the charge 2+, very good. So, siya yung may os ending. Kaya siya yung magiging ferrous. Siya yung ferrous. And the one with the higher charge, ik yung ending. Kaya magiging ferric siya. Siya yung ferric. Another example. We also have si copper. Diba? Si copper, yung Latin name naman niya is cuprum. Latin name niya is cuprum. Okay? Now, you tell me what would be the name for Cu+. What would be the name of Cu+? Okay, Cu+ will become, kasi the one with the lower charge, siya yung magiging cuprous. Tama. Siya yung cuprous. Tama. And the one with the higher charge na copper ion, copper 2+, siya yung cupric. Okay? Oo. Kapag basing inyo kung pangutanhon na, ma'am, how do we know nga siya yung may higher charge, siya yung may lower charge? You have to memorize. Doon papasok yung memorization yun na dapat memorize nyo yung charges ng ions. Dapat memorize mo yung copper, meron siyang Cu+, si copper meron siyang Cu2+. And then comparing the charges, alam mo na yun, na yung plus lang, +1, then siya yung lower charge. So, cuprous. Cu2+, siya yung cupric. O, another example, we have lead. Lead has a Latin name, plumbum. Plumbum yung Latin name niya. Alright? Yung mga charges, variable charges ni lead are the following, di ba? We have 2+, and we also have PB4+, PB4+. With this, we can now identify then na PB2+ will become plumbus, tama, and PB4+ is the one with an IC ending, tama. Very good. Plumbus, plumbic. O, ganun lang. Diba? Now, ma'am, mahirap yung okay lang kung dili ninyo ni gamiton. But what if ito yung given sa exam. You have to write the formula of ferrous chloride. Halimbawa, ito yung ginamit ko, ferrous chloride. So, alam mo na. Kapag ferrous, siya yung Fe2+, the one with the lower charge. Okay? Another example, yung tin. Tin has a Latin name stannum. Tin has a Latin name stannum. And ano yung mga charges ng tin? Tin, Sn2+ and Sn4+. So ito yung sinasabi ko na dapat alam nyo yung elemental symbol, no? Elemental symbol ng tin. Okay? Dapat si tin hindi po T. Hindi po T, N, si tin is Sn. Antimony po is SB. Antimony is SB. So, dapat alam nyo yung elemental symbol ng mga atoms, elements. Okay? So, with this, Sn2+, this would be stannous. Ayan, stannous. And then Sn4+, very good, stannic naman to. So, yun lang. And there are other pa sa inyong list. Si cobalt. Si cobalt, meron siyang 2+ and 3+. Tama? Okay, hayo inyo nang na-screenshot ha. I-screenshot nyo lang to. Ayan. Okay, balik ko sa slide na to. So, we also have cobalt, diba? Cobalt 2+, meron tayong cobalt 3+. So, ito. All this, lahat ng binigay ko na examples po, transition metals yan lahat. You can check that in the periodic table. Transition metals yan sila. So, just take note. Transition metals, they are capable of forming cations with variable charges. So, CO2+, this will become cobaltous. Ito naman yung cobaltic. What else? Si manganese. Question, ano yung symbol ng manganese? Manganese. It is, tama, Mn. So, Mn, meron tayong Mn 2+, meron din tayong Mn 3+, diba? So, alam nyo na sino yung manganese, sino yung manganic. Manganese, manganic. What else? Mercury. Diba, meron din tayong mercury. Diba, si mercury, si Hg2+, at saka si Hg, ayan, si Hg2+ at saka si Hg2+. Okay, question. Between letter A And letter B, sino yung mercury 2? Sino yung mercury 2? A or B? Mercury 2. Mercury 2, very good. Letter B. 'Di ba nasa list nyo ng cations, Hg2 plus is mercury 2. Okay? So this would be, so kung siya si mercury 2, the one with a higher charge, then siya yung mercuric. Ito yung mercuric. Then si mercury 1, siya yung mercurous. Mercurous. So ganun lang po. And again ha, lahat ng binigay ko na example dito na slide, transition metals sila. Sila yung may capable of forming cations with variable charges. So memorize ha, memorize nyo talaga yung charges, memorize nyo. Di ba sabi ko na yan sa first day of school pa lang, memorize nyo yung ions. That will help you much, no, in writing the formula. Okay? Sige. So far, dalawa na yung consideration natin na na-discuss sa name ng ions, cations. Okay, una, yun na nga, most of the cations, kung ano yung pangalan nila sa periodic table, yun na din yung pangalan nila sa ion form nila. Then second consideration, mga transition metals, since they are able to form different charges, okay, meron tayong names nila wherein i-enclose inside the parentheses ang charge or using the old way method, okay, the suffixes ik or os ending. Now, tanong, ma'am, saan yung gagamitin namin dito? You can either use this one, okay, yung naka-enclose in a parentheses, yung charges, or yung os or ik ending. Okay? Isahan lang ha yung pag-name nyo. If you're asked to name ha, if you're asked to name sa exam, then kung ginamit nyo yung os, ik ending, yun lang yung gagamitin nyo. Huwag yung lagyan ng or, ito yung posibleng name niya. Isa lang yun inyong isa lang yun inyong ihatag na name. Okay, kay sensitive kay si Google Form. Sensitive si Google Form, isa ra yung dawaton nga answer. So you decide at your end kung ano yung gusto nyong hiyang sa inyo, kanang dali sa inyo ha memorize. Okay? So you can have either, parehas lang yan. Okay, parehas lang yan. Letter C, nga consideration. I think this is the last consideration under the names of cations. Meron din tayong cations, no? That are formed from non-metal atoms. But, konti lang naman to. Actually, dalawa lang sila. So you can just memorize them. Diba? These are considered cations. These are considered cations. In writing po ba the charges, what is it? For a while ha, there's a question. In writing po ba the charges, for a while loading. As a charges superscript, it is like 2 plus or accepted either way. Yes. Oo. Accepted lang yan. You can have the 2 plus or plus 2, parehas lang yan. Okay, 2 plus or plus 2, parehas lang po yan. Okay, thank you for that. Sige. So again ha, the third consideration in the names of cations, we have those cations from non-metal atoms. Pero dalawa lang naman to sila. Diba? Si ammonium, tingnan nyo sa list nyo, diba under siya sa cations? Kasi nga may positive charge siya. Kasi nga ulit, may positive charge siya. Then, we have hydronium ions, diba? Ending in IUM. Ending in IUM. Okay? So, these are cations as well. Again, dalawa lang to sila. Okay? Dalawa lang to sila. You can just memorize these two. Ammonium ion, hydronium ion. And as you can see, this time, the ion form nila consists of many, more than one atom. Merong nitrogen, 4 na hydrogen. 3 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. That is many atoms in one ion. This time, this is not monoatomic ion. This is already poly. Diba? Poly means many. Okay, many atoms, okay, in its ion form. That's why polyatomic ion. It is composed of many atoms sa iyang ion form. So kapag ganyan, that is considered polyatomic. Alright? So, Ayan. So that ends the considerations in cation names. Okay, cation names. Okay, let's proceed to the negative ions. Bakit yung mga anions may mga ending iba-iba? Okay, may IDE ending, ATE ending, ITE ending yun. Okay, so alamin natin. For negative anions, first consideration, we have anions considered monoatomic. I repeat, meron tayong monoatomic anions wherein yung name nila replaced replaced yung ending name nila with IDE. With IDE, 'di ba? Most of your memorize ninyo na anions na monoatomic. Pag sinabing monoatomic ha, isa lang yung atom tapos meron kang makikitang charge. Walang subscript. Okay? Walang subscript. Walang subscript. Okay? So monoatomic anions, ang name nila, yung ending of their name, it is replaced with IDE. So halimbawa, you tell me the name of this element. Name ha of this element sa periodic table. Cl, what is that? Chlorine. Okay? Now, if you form its ion form, di ba yung ion form niya is Cl minus. Cl minus. So this is already an ion. Okay? Already an ion. Isa siyang monoatomic anion. Kasi isa lang yan, no? Monoatomic anion. So in this case, magiging chloride siya. That's why ending in IDE. Ending in IDE, yung pangalan niya in ion form. Another example, yung fluorine, 'di ba? Fluorine kapag naging ion form siya, you have F minus. Fluorine kapag naging ion form siya, F minus, and this is known as fluoride. Take note of the spelling ha. It's not FLO, it's FLU. Fluorine, fluoride is FLU, FLUO. Okay, very good. So, yan yung isang consideration natin in naming anions. In naming anions. Kaya, meron kayong mga na-memorize na anions ending in IDE. And if you check that, they're, di ba, monoatomic anions mostly. Pero, meron din tayong few. Okay, meron tayong few na polyatomic anions wherein IDE rin yung ending nila. Pero again, konti lang naman. Tatlo lang sila actually. Okay, tatlo lang sila actually. So we have, halimbawa, na polyatomic anion with the ending IDE is yung OH minus, di ba? That is hydroxide. Hydroxide, so ending in IDE. O2 minus, so this is polyatomic already kasi 2 subscript, dalawang atoms na yan ng oxygen. Okay, so polyatomic na yan. Peroxide ion naman yan. Peroxide ion. And we also have, last one, Cn minus, di ba? Polyatomic anion na yung ending niya is IDE. And the rest, take note, the rest of the anions, okay, na monoatomic, they end in IDE. Okay, mostly kapag monoatomic. O question, ano nga ulit yung klase ng element na nagpo-form ng anion? Metal or non-metal? Metal or non-metal? Okay, very good. The non-metal. Okay, as you can see, lahat ng mga presented in the slide, non-metal po yan. Hydrogen is a non-metal. Oxygen is a non-metal. Nitrogen, non-metal yan. Di ba? And lahat ng nasa list of anions dyan sa notes nyo, non-metal po yan. Okay? So that's the first consideration ha. Those ending in IDE ulit, monoatomic sila mostly. Mostly. Tatlo lang yung IDE ending na polyatomic one. Okay? Hydroxide, peroxide, and cyanide. Okay, next. We also have anions, okay, wherein yung polyatomic sila, many atoms, okay, yung anion formula, okay, this time ending in ATE, ending in ITE. Okay? And as you can observe, most of that polyatomic anion ending in ATE, ITE, they consist of oxygen. 'Di ba? O, tingnan ulit yung ions nyo dyan, list of ions sa inyuhang, sa anions nga part, nga ending in ATE, ITE, na ay oxygen. Na ay oxygen sa ilahang formula. Okay? These are also known as oxy anions. Ang tawag nila, they are also called oxy anions. I repeat, itong mga anions, polyatomic anions containing oxygen, they are also known as oxy anions. Okay, and again, most of them ends with ATE and ITE. Okay, now we have actually a parang hack, no? Parang life hack para dali lang ninyo ma-memorize ang formula ng mga oxy anions ending in these suffixes. So yung memorize nyo lang is those oxy anions ending in ATE. I repeat, i-memorize nyo lang po yung mga anions ending in ATE. If you memorize their formulas, okay, you can immediately write their ITE form. Okay, they can immediately write their IET form. Okay, the reason why I let you memorize only the ATE form, katong with ending ATE, na mga oxy and ion, kasi sila yung mga common oxy and ion of an element. Halimbawa, tinanong kayo, ano yung common oxy and ion of the element chlorine? Yahang common oxy and ion is chlorate. Okay? Chlorate. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung common niya nga oxy and ion. Ito lang yung i-memorize nyo, yung ending in ATE. Okay? O, another example, common oxy and ion of the element bromine. It's bromate. Okay, bromate. For nitrogen, ang iyang common oxy and ion is nitrate. O, yan lang i-memorize nyo. Okay, if you memorize again the common oxy and ion of an element, I repeat, if you memorize this, the formulas of the common oxy and ion of the element, you can immediately write their ITE form. Kasi, take note, yung ITE ending for an oxy and ion, that only represents nga one less oxygen atom from its ATE form. One less oxygen lang po. Ibig sabihin from nitrate, NO3 minus, para maging nitrate yan, minus 1 oxygen. So, NO2 minus. NO2 minus. This is already nitrite. So, ITE ending na yan. Okay? Ganon din with chlorate. Para maging chlorite yan, minus 1 oxygen from its formula. Okay? So, ClO2 minus. That's already chlorite. Okay? Then, ganun din kay bromate. Yung bromite would be BrO2 minus. This is bromite. Nakuha? I repeat, memorize only the common oxy and ion of an element. Dali lang ninyo makita katong ending in ATE. The one with the ending ATE. Yun yung common oxy and ion of an element. Okay, another example, you have their common oxy and ion of the element tin. Diba? It is stannate. Stannate is an SNO3 2 minus. SNO3 2 minus. This is again has stannate. Stannate ending in ATE. O, paano yan maging stannite? It will become SN. Kapag SNO2 2 minus, so minus 1 lang ha. Wag niyong, hindi po affected yung charge ha. As is yung charge, same lang yung charge. Okay, wag mong pakialaman yung charge. One less oxygen lang yung mangyayari. One less oxygen lang po yung mangyayari. This is stannite. Stannite. Okay, another example. For the element phosphorus, common oxyanion niya is phosphate. Oxyanion ng phosphorus is phosphate, and phosphate is PO4 minus. Again, this is phosphate. So ending in ATE. Ending in ATE, that is the common oxyanion of that particular element. Mauna siya inyong i-memorize. Para maging phosphite siya, one less oxygen. So PO3, 3 minus. So this is phosphite. Nakuha? So wag niyo nang i-memorize lahat. Okay, I repeat, common oxyanion lang ng element. Nakuha? Yan na yung example. Okay? So, sulfate din. So, as represented. So, ako erase ha. Ayan. Sulfate. So, halimbawa din, sulfate. Common oxyanion of sulfur is sulfate. So, ending in ATE. Para maging sulfite, one less oxygen. Tingnan lang yung difference. One less oxygen lang po yan. One less oxygen. Okay, so that's the second consideration. Okay, next. Ito. Meron din tayong certain elements. Okay? Certain elements wherein yung oxyanion form nila could extend into four members. This is only the case for halogens. Sa mga halogens lang po to ha, wherein yung oxyanions nila can extend into four members. Halimbawa, specifically ng halogen would be chlorine, bromine, iodine. Sa kanila lang po yung series of oxyanion ng element that could extend to four members. Okay, so halimbawa, you have for chlorine, di ba? As I wrote it kanina na slide, what is again? Sige nga, what is again the common oxyanion of the element chlorine? Okay, very good. Chlorate. So chlorate is ClO3 minus. Okay, so this is chlorate. This is chlorate ha, this is chlorate. Okay, very good. You tell me, ano yung formula? You type in if naging chlorite siya. If naging chlorite na siya. One less oxygen. Sige, you type in. Kapag naging chlorite, tama. ClO2 minus. Yan yung chlorite. So, two members na yan. Tama? Two members na yan ng oxyanion. Sabi dito, capable daw siya mag-extend to four members. So, kulang pa ng dalawa. Okay, listen class. Listen. From chlorate, take note, from its chlorate form, ClO3 minus, I repeat, from its chlorate form sa common oxyanion form niya, kapag dagdagan mo siya ng isang oxygen, okay, kapag one more oxygen siya, instead of one less oxygen ha, kapag one more oxygen, so magiging ClO4 minus, tama? Kasi one more oxygen. If that is the case, yung pangalan na yan is you have to add a prefix per. Okay, you have to add a prefix per. Okay, yung prefix per na yan, that represents addition of one more oxygen. So, ang pangalan yan is perchlorate. Perchlorate, I repeat. From its common, di ba, ito yung na-memorize nyo. Sabi ko sa inyo, i-memorize nyo lang yung common oxyanion. That's chlorate. So, memorize nyo na yung chlorate. Chlorate is ClO3 minus. Kapag one more oxygen dyan, you add a prefix per. So, that becomes perchlorate. perchlorate. Per means representation yan ha, na one more oxygen. I repeat, kapag per, one more oxygen yan from its common oxyanion. Okay. Now, from chlorite naman, dito naman tayo sa chlorite. Diba? Meron ka ng chlorite. That's one less oxygen, diba? Ang chlorite, one less oxygen. Okay. Kapag one less oxygen pa from chlorite, hypochlorite. Hypochlorite. So yung hypo dyan, that is an indicator nga one less oxygen from chlorite. One less oxygen from chlorite. Okay, from its ITE form, So wag niyo nang isulat nga 1 kasi kapag 1 na subscript, that is not anymore written. Okay? So I hope you were able to take down notes. I repeat ha, from chlorate, one less oxygen, ITE ending yan. One less oxygen, ITE ending. So you simply change the ending to ITE. Kapag one less oxygen from its ITE form, you add prefix hypo. So hypochlorite. From chlorate, balik tayo kay chlorate. Kapag one more oxygen dyan, you add a prefix per. Okay, so that becomes perchlorate. Okay. Sige. So, ito lang yon yung diniscuss ko. Parehas lang yan. So, nakuha. So, I repeat ha, sa mga halogens, okay, yung capable lang po na mag-extend to 4 members of oxyanions, ions, those are chlorine, iodine, and bromine. So you can just try this on your note. Ano yung 4 members naman ng iodine kapag oxyanion na at saka kay bromate. Nakuha? Sige. So ito yung sample kanina. Parehas lang yun ha. Ayan. Chlorate. One more oxygen from chlorate per. One less oxygen from chlorate, chlorite. Then, one less oxygen pa than chlorite, hypochlorite. Okay? So, take note of this prefixes. Kailan kagagamit ng per, kailan kagagamit ng hypo. Okay? Para hindi ka na mag-memorize pa ng more anions. Kasi ang daming anions, di ba? Simply memorize the common one, the common oxyanion. Okay. And the rest, yung mga hindi natin na discuss dito, halimbawa, yung bicarbonate, you have to memorize na those. Okay? Kasi wala siyang kasama na may ruling in naming the anions. Okay? So you just have to memorize those. Okay, memorize the bicarbonate. Diba bicarbonate is HCO3 minus, the bisulfate, ayan. Okay? Basta alam nyo na kapag naging ite yan, ite, one less oxygen. Okay? Sige. Okay. So, let's try this sample exercises. Okay. From the formula given, selenate. This is selenate, ha? Selenate. It is Se4 2 minus. How will you write its selenite formula? You can type in your answer. How will you write its selenite formula? Okay, very good. It's SeO3 2 minus. Okay. The same charge, one less oxygen lang from selenate. One less oxygen from selenate. Oh, another example. The formula of bromate, diba? Bromate is BrO3 minus. Oh, what would be the formula of hypo? Take note, hypobromite. You apply. Okay, very good. Kapag hypobromite na, okay, very good. One more, one less oxygen from its bromite form. So, ayan. Ay, sorry. Negative lang. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. So, ano lang. Wala nang subscript. Okay. What about this one? What is this? Oh, you name this ion. You name this ion. Okay, very good. This is bromite. Okay, ito yung bromite. Kapag hypobromite, one less oxygen pa from that bromite form. So let's continue our discussion with the namings na po tayo. Okay, ng compound, specifically ionic compound. So start tayo sa ionic compound. So for those ionic compounds, take note, since sa isang ionic compound, it is composed of a cation and anion, then yung name nila is simply reflective, no, to their cation and anion name. Okay, and please do note that it is the cation that comes first in naming, followed by the anion name. So halimbawa, in the presented slide, di ba, you can see here calcium, then chloride. Calcium is a metal. Okay, chloride is from a non-metal ion form. Ganon din, aluminum, tsaka nitrate. So again ha, mauuna yung cation sa name bago yung anion. Now, how do we write the name, the formula? No, how do we write the formula of this inorganic compounds? Okay, so for the first one, number 1, you have their calcium chloride. In writing the formula, take note ha, in writing the formula, we use the method criss-cross. Okay, criss-cross method. This is the most common way to write, okay, to write formula of inorganic compounds, criss-cross method. So yung mangyayari, calcium, you all know that it has an ion form Ca2+. Diba? That is the cation, calcium, Ca2+. Chloride has the ion form Cl-. Okay? So you have there calcium ion, chloride ion. How do we write calcium chloride as a compound? Use criss-cross method. Ibig sabihin ng criss-cross method, this numerical value, the numerical value of the charges, it will be crossed over. Okay? It will be crossed over to become a subscript of the other ion. I repeat, yung value na nakikita mo sa charges ng each element, i-cross over mo yan sa magkabilaang ion para maging subscript ngayon ng other ion. So, upon criss-crossing, calcium now will have a subscript of 1. And we all know 1 is not anymore written as a subscript. So, Ca. Then, the chloride, the Cl, will now have subscript of 2. Okay? I-criss-cross mo lang ha ang numerical value. Pag sinabing numerical value, yung number lang, wala yung charge. Yung number lang, yung value. Okay? Yung number lang, i-criss-cross mo, i-criss-cross. Ilipat mo sa magkabilaan, magiging subscript yan. Okay? So that is the formula chemical formula of calcium chloride, CaCl2. Okay, next. Aluminum nitrate. Aluminum has an ion form of Al3+. Oh, that's the reason bakit kailangan yung i-memorize yung ion. Kasi upon seeing that name, aluminum, then nitrate, dapat alam mo ano yung ion form ng aluminum. So, aluminum is Al3+, nitrate is NO3-. NO3-. O, pag minus lang yan, or positive, 1 yung numerical value dyan. Okay, so crisscross. Okay, crisscross. So, yung 3 magiging subscript ng nitrate. Yung 1 from the nitrate na charge, magiging subscript ngayon ng aluminum. So, overall, yung aluminum nitrate is Al. Oh, wala kang isusulat nga subscript. I repeat, wala kang isusulat nga subscript kasi nga 1 lang naman yung charge ng nitrate. Hindi na po isusulat yung 1 ha. Now, given this polyatomic ion, take note. Polyatomic ion, 'di ba, yung nitrate? O hindi pwedeng asa na? Ayun. Hindi po pwedeng NO3 tapos lagay mo yung 3 na subscript. Magkatabi lang. Hindi po ganyan. Kapag polyatomic ion po, then lalagyan mo ng subscript. 'Di ba? This is a polyatomic ion. Kapag lalagyan mo yan ng subscript, make sure to enclose that in a parenthesis. Enclose a polyatomic ion in a parenthesis kapag yung subscript na ilalagay mo more than 1. I repeat, kapag polyatomic an ion, then lalagyan mo ng subscript upon crisscrossing. Make sure to enclose that first in a parenthesis, tsaka mo ilagay yung subscript nga more than 1. So that is 3, di ba? So more than 1. So enclose mo siya. Okay, so this is the formula of aluminum nitrate. Aluminum nitrate. Last, you have here copper 2, then perchlorate. So this is already a clue. Copper 2 daw. So copper has a ion form of Ca2+, kasi nga copper 2. So siya yung Cu2+. Okay? Then perchlorate is ClO4-. ClO4-. Dapat memorize mo yan ha, ang mga ion form. For perchlorate, you know this already, 1 more oxygen from its chlorate form. Okay, crisscross. Ang numerical value ng charge. Crisscross, magiging subscript na siya ng other ion. Magiging subscript po ng other ion yung charged or numerical value ng charge ng isang element. So from copper, okay, 1 man yung charge ng chlorate, -1, so wala kang ilalagay na subscript. Okay, then you have there ClO4. Maglalagay tayo ng subscript, di ba, na 2. Very good. So, enclose that in a parenthesis, then lagay mo 2. That is the formula of copper 2 perchlorate. Okay? Copper 2 perchlorate. Let's have another example. Ha? What about the name, let's have potassium dichromate. Potassium dichromate. So you are asked to write the formula, chemical formula of potassium dichromate. So tagsa-tagsaon ninyo, potassium is K+. Okay, tama? Potassium is K+. What about dichromate? So, dapat memorize mo yung dichromate. Diba? So, dichromate is Cr2O7, 2-. Memorize mo dapat yan. Dichromate is Cr2O7, 2-. Question, is dichromate a polyatomic ion? Yes or no? Is it a polyatomic ion? Yes, it is a polyatomic ion. Okay? Question ulit. Later na lang. Later na ako magtatanong. Okay? So, criss-cross. Criss-cross ulit yung value ha. Criss-cross ulit yung value ng charge. Only the value of charge. So, this one will become the subscript of the other ion. Yung 2 dyan, magiging subscript ng other ion. Criss-cross. Ipagpalitan mo lang. Make sure nga from cation na charge, dun siya mapupunta sa anion. From anion na numerical value ng charge, dun siya mapupunta sa cation. Palitan lang. Okay? Sige. So, from criss-crossing, magiging K2. Saan galing yung 2 dito? Numerical value ng charge of dichromate. Okay? Then we have Cr2O7. This is for dichromate, tama? This is for the anion part. Question, kailangan bang lagyan ng parentheses nga 1 lang naman yung subscript? Yes or no? Kailangan ba lagyan? No. 'Di ba sabi ko, maglalagay lang tayo ng parentheses if ang ilalagay natin na subscript is more than 1. Kung more than 1. So kung 1 lang, imaginary lang naman yung 1, 'di ba? Hindi natin dapat isulat yung 1. So you simply write that. So that is, walang space ha, dapat sumpay na siya. K2. Ulit. Okay? So you have there K2 Cr2O7. So ana lang. Okay? Ana lang dapat. Wala na i-parentheses. Kasi again, yung charge kanina ni potassium is plus 1. 1 lang 1. Hindi na diba dapat isulat as subscript ang 1? Yan yung tandaan nyo. 1 as a subscript is not anymore written. So wag nyo nang i-enclose sa parentheses yung polyatomic ion na yan. Let's have another example. Ferrous cyanide. Ferrous cyanide. So ferrous, 2 plus or 3 plus? Ferrous, 2 plus or 3 plus? Yes, it is 2 plus. Very good. So memorize nyo dapat. Ha? Ferrous is Fe, 2 plus. Cyanide is Cn minus. Okay, so criss-cross. Criss-cross. Ang numerical value ha, numerical value. Okay? Ayan. Question. Cyanide, polyatomic ion or monoatomic ion? Poly or mono? Poly or mono? Yes, it is poly. Kasi isang carbon, isang nitrogen. More than 1 atom na yan. More than 1 atom. So, poly siya. Polyatomic. Okay, ion. Let's go. Ato siyang i-criss-cross. So, iron, walang subscript. Hindi ka na maglalagay ng subscript kasi negative 1 lang yung charge dito kay cyanide. And then you have Cn. Then, maglalagay daw po ng subscript. And this is a polyatomic ion, tama? So, make sure you enclose that. Then, tsaka mo ilagay yung subscript 2. Okay? Ma'am, okay lang ba maglagay ako ng, hindi ako maglalagay ng parentheses kasi wala namang original subscript dito si cyanide. You still have to enclose no sa parentheses. Basta kay polyatomic ion yan, and then the subscript na ilalagay mo is more than 1, enclose good permi. Kay kung dili ka mag-enclose, halimbawa, let's say ha, ang wala ka nag-enclose, so ang imong gibutang is FeCN, then diretso nimo ang 2. So kung ana siya, ang naaray subscript nga 2 is si nitrogen. Remember, ang atuang anion part here is ang buong cyanide. Ang buong cyanide po, yung anion part dyan. Okay, so dapat i-enclose good. As long as polyatomic and then more than 1 yung subscript. Okay, so 2. This is ferrous cyanide. Sige, halimbawa pa, potassium. What about potassium? Permanganate. Okay, permanganate. Okay, so potassium ulit is K+. Permanganate is MnO4, 2 minus ba or minus ba? Minus lang ata. Minus lang ata. No? So, potassium, then you have permanganate. So, crisscross, puros 1. Yung numerical value, tama? Puros 1, wala nang subscript na ilalagay. So, kopyahin mo lang yan, KMnO4. Okay? Yung original nila na subscript from their ion forms, dili dapat na siya ma-affect ha? Dili dapat na siya ma-affectahan sa pag-crisscross. As is lang na sila, ang imo lang yung hilabtan is ang numerical value ng charges. Okay? Yung nasa numerical value ng charges. Okay. Sige, last example tayo. Calcium. What about calcium oxalate? Calcium oxalate. Calcium is Ca2+. Ca2+. Oxalate is nasa list of ions nyo ha. Memorize nyo dapat. C2O4 ano ba? Minus. I think it's minus. Or 2 minus. Sige. 2 minus. Okay? 2 minus. Good. Okay? So, pag ganito, okay? So, you have the same. Tama? The same value. 2, 2. Okay? So, crisscross natin. Crisscross. Okay? Now, if you happen to encounter this kind of combination ng ions, magkaparehas yung charges, ay value ng charges, 2 plus and then 2 minus, you simply cancel. Cancel that parang sa math, yung simplified form nila. Diba? Yung simplified form nila, ato silang i-cancel. Okay? Halimbawa, kung dili pa nato i-cancel, diba mahimo siya A2 and then C2O4, then 2. Kung nga pag-cancel. Pero, again, in writing a chemical formula, it has to be in a simplified form. So, you simply cancel that. So, mura siya equivalent to 1. Kaya pag-cancel nimo, di ba, equivalent to 1. So, no need to write parentheses. Kasi equivalent to 1 lang naman. Yung subscript, yung magiging subscript. Okay, and again, subscript of 1 is not anymore written. So, Ca, yung magiging final answer is CaC. 2O4. So this is calcium oxalate. Na simplified ha. Dapat ito yung final answer. Wala na pong ibang formula si calcium oxalate. Ito po yung sagot. CaC2O4. Okay, dapat yun is-simplified ha kapag parehas. Yung charges, i-cancel na nimo siya. So equivalent to 1. Equivalent to 1 yung magiging subscripts later on. Okay, so kung alam niyo na how to write, okay, how to write the formula, kung alam niyo to, itong part na to, ito, kung alam niyo to, alam niyo na to, how to write, then baliktaran lang kung pina-name kayo ngayon, baliktaran, ito yung binigay. You can now name, okay? Kung baliktaran lang, so halimbawa, baliktaron na to ha, baliktaron na to. Ang binigay is sige, balik natin si potassium dichromate. Kani ang gihatag formula. Diba? This is the formula of potassium dichromate. Pero tinanong kayo, give the chemical name. Okay? Give the chemical name of this formula of a compound. So yung mangyayari, inyo siyang bulagon. Kung imong tinamban ng uban manggod kay dili nila makuha diretso ang name by just looking. Pero nay uban nga master kaayo dali ra kay na memorize naman nila ang mga ion forms, okay? So pwede nimo tinambanon. We all know that K is potassium and naa siya cation ion form. So imo siyang tinambanon. So that is the potassium, okay? So the remaining, itong remaining part, probably this would be the anion form niya. The anion form. So imong kopyahon Cr2O7. Then, unsa ka ang charge ani? Ang imong clue, kay katong subscript, okay, sa pikas nga ion. Yan yung probably charge niya. And we all know that anion has always a negative charge. Cation is positively charged. Okay? Nganong makabaluman mo nga cation na siya diri kay anion kasi again, the name of ionic compound una permi ang cation, musunod dayon ang anion. Mauuna yung cation in the name of an ionic compound followed by anion. So most probably kung alam mo na nga potassium is a cation, yung remaining part dyan, buong anion na yan. Okay, buong anion na yan. So you can easily determine the charges here kasi nag-criss-cross lang naman yan, di ba? Nag-criss-cross lang yan. Okay? So another example. Sige, yung iba, at yung hindi binigay kanina. So halimbawa, ito yung binigay. NH4Cl. NH4Cl. Okay? O, kahit hindi mo to alam, hindi mo pa alam yung NH4. Pero you all know that we have Cl. Nasa ulahi siya, nasa tumoy siya. Okay? Sa pag-write sa formula. And Cl, you know that isa siyang anion. Yung anion form niya is Cl minus. Cl minus. So that's chloride. Okay, that's chloride. So yung remaining part dyan is NH4. Then wala kang makikitang subscript dito. So most probably ang charge dito is NH4 then plus NH4 plus NH4 plus. Kasi walang charge sa subscript. Imo lang baliktaron ba kung unsa atong gidiscuss ganina, baliktaron nimo ang step. Baliktaron imo siyang bungkagon. Kwaon nimo yang ion, anion, kwaon nimo yang cation. Basta kay una gid ang cation ana. Kasunod dyan yung anion. That's the sequence no sa ionic compound. Okay, so this would be ammonium. Tama. 'Di ba? You know this, ammonium chloride. Ma'am, lisod kaayo. Lisod yun kaayo. Katong tanan student ka naglisod, meaning ana wala sila ka-memorize sa ions. Okay? That's the reason nga nung naglisod mo. Kung dili gyud ka ka-memorize sa mga cations, their charges, you cannot answer this, I tell you. That's why I already tell you from the very start, memorize the charges of cations and anions. And I already, di ba, segregated, nakasegmented na sila, kinsay na positive charge, kinsay na plus 2 charge, plus 3 charge, sino yung negative 1 charge, memorize nyo yun. Okay? Mahihirapan yun kayo kapag hindi nyo na-memorize yung charges ng ions. Okay? Sige, another example. Let's have the halimbawa, ito. Yan. Okay? Ayan. You have BaCl2. You are asked, what is the name of this compound? What is the name of this compound? So Ba. Sabi na ko na. Ba is barium. You know this symbol. This is barium. Okay? So barium, naa siya'y charge nga Ba2+. And maklaro man sa subscript. Kanang 2 nga subscript ni chlorine, gikan na sa charge ni barium. Then Cl, that's A-, wala man tay charge gikan kay barium. Okay? Yes, this is barium chloride. Barium chloride. Okay? Let's have this. Okay? Try to name the following compounds. Name the following compounds. Ayan. So you have there K. Walay lain nga element, no? Walay lain na element nga yang symbol kay K. Potassium na siya. Potassium. So ang nabilin, kabalo ka nga si potassium, siya yung metal form, siya yung cation form. Ang nabilin din ana, mo na ang anion part. So dapat kabalo ka unsa na nga anion. SO4, then 2- na siya actually. Okay, SO4, 2-, aning 2-, imo na ng clue. Ang subscript na imong makita kay potassium dira, mo na siya ang charge ni sulfate. Kay nag-criss-cross, di ba? Criss-cross raman ang pag-write sa formula. So this is sulfate. This is sulfate. So the name would be potassium. Sorry. Potassium sulfate. Potassium sulfate. Next. Ito. Ba again. Ba is barium. It has a charge of A2+. Very good. And OH, you know already that OH is an anion. Isa siyang anion with a charge of a negative. A charge of negative. So this is, tama, this is barium hydroxide. Barium hydroxide. Okay, next. Ito. Fe. Ano yung metal na Fe? Fe, that is iron. Diba? Fe is iron. And duhaman, halaka duhaman ang charge ni iron. Na siya iron 2+, iron 3+. Tanawi. Tanawa ang formula. FeCl3. So, clue na ni. 3 ang naging subscript ni chloride. So, probably this is ferric. This is iron. I will not accept iron chloride nga answer. Kay duha man ang klase nga iron. Natay iron 2, natay iron 3. You have to specify if it is an iron 2, iron 3 chloride. Okay, so this is ferric chloride or this is iron 3 chloride. Okay? Clue na ninimo ha? Kanang 3 nga subscript ni Cl dyan, galing yan sa charge ni iron. Okay? I will not also accept answers nga wala nakaparentheses ang Roman numeral if you chose this way of naming. We already know the rule. Ang rule is enclose in a parenthesis the Roman numeral. Enclose in the parenthesis the Roman numeral. Now, if you happen to choose this, that is ferric, ha? Fe3 plus is ferric. Sige. What about this one? Write the chemical formula of the following compounds. Okay, so balik na pod. Ions, good. Ions ng potassium, K+. Sulfide. What is sulfide? Sulfide is S2-. Very good. Criss-cross mo lang yan. Criss-cross mo lang yan. So, pag criss-cross sa value, that's K, then 2. K2, then S. K2S, that's potassium sulfide. So, ana lang. Okay? Next. Calcium. Calcium is Ca2+. Calcium is Ca2+. Bicarbonate again is HCO3-. HCO3-. So be careful. This is a polyatomic ion. So crisscross. Okay, crisscross. So magiging Ca, walang subscript. Walang subscript sa Ca. Okay? Then you have HCO3. So before nimo i-write ang subscript nga 2, enclose that in a parenthesis, then write 2 subscript. Asa gikan ning 2? Gikan na siya sa charge ng calcium. Crisscross. Okay, sige, next. Pag ganito, clue na yan. Clue na yan yung may parenthesis. Charge na yan ng cation, nickel. So nickel is Ni, 2+ daw here. Perchlorate is ClO4, 3-. ClO4, 3-. Okay, so crisscross mo yung mga charges. Crisscross mo yung charges. So Ni, may subscript, tama? Ni, then may subscript nga, 3. Galing kay, hindi pala yan charge. Walang charge si chlorate. Walang charge si chlorate. Minus lang, di ba? Si chlorate. Okay? Ayan. Okay. So, nawala na. Di na ma-erase. Okay, di na siya ma-erase. Basta kay erase na ninyo ang 3, ha? Erase na to. Negative lang yan. ClO4, negative. ClO4, negative. Okay? Di na siya ma-erase. Ako na lang i-scratch. Ayan. So, N, nickel is Ni, then ClO4, ayun, 2. Okay? That's nickel. Very good. Nickel perchlorate. Nickel perchlorate. Nakuha? Sige. They are synonymous with each other. Okay? So, yung mga hydrogen ions, tawag din sa kanila is H+ because recall, The most abundant isotope of hydrogen, which is protium, I repeat, the most abundant isotope of hydrogen, which is protium, in nature, it has no presence of neutron. Diba? Wala siyang neutron. So, halimbawa, if this is protium, okay, ito yung nucleus niya. Yung meron lang sa nucleus niya is proton. Okay, meron siyang proton. And we all know that a neutral atom, equivalent yung number of protons sa number of electrons. So, meron din siyang isang electron surrounding the nucleus of hydrogen. Okay? So, I repeat, yung mismong most stable form of hydrogen, the most abundant isotope of hydrogen, that is protium, wala po siyang neutron, ha? Wala siyang neutron. Okay? Now, kapag nag-form yung hydrogen na to its ion form, so naging H plus na siya, ano nga ulit ibig sabihin ng H plus, yung plus? Does it lose or gain electron? Does it loses or gain electron? Yes, very good, it loses electron. So, it lose one electron. So, mula dito, yung proton niya, di ba, meron siya isa. Meron siyang electron, isa. Pero pag H plus na yan, nag-lose siya ngayon ng electrons. So, yung matitira sa buong atom, ng hydrogen, particularly the protium isotope of hydrogen, is only proton. Kaya ang tawag sa kanya, yung hydrogen ion is also proton. Kasi yun lang ng acids, when the water, they yield proton, they yield hydrogen. I repeat ha, madali lang ma-distinguish yung formula ng mga acids. They start with hydrogen atom. Okay? Kaya nga, di ba, proton donor sila, maklaro man sa formula, they donate hydrogen ion. Alright. Now, when we name acids po, most of their names, they came from anions. Okay? Yung mga acids natin available, they actually derive from anions. And diba, we have discussed earlier, anions, meron tayong ending in IDE, meron tayong anions ending in ATE, tsaka ITE. Diba? Yan yung lang mga ending, mga suffixes ng anion. So let's have first those anions, okay, ending in IDE. So we have acids, no, na pwedeng ma-derive sa anions ending in IDE. Okay, ending in IDE. So halimbawa, you have chloride, diba? Chloride is Cl minus. Ano yung sabi ko kanina na always present na atom sa formula ng mga acids? You have the H plus. So, crisscross mo lang, crisscross ulit. Kato lang yapon, crisscross, kasi you have a positive there and a negative ions. Parang ganun lang yung concept. Then you will have the HCl. Okay? Now, in order for you to name this HCl, okay, you have to follow the rule wherein kapag ang anions name end in IDE, with IDE, then yung magiging name ng acid niyan, okay, must have a prefix hydro. So you add a prefix hydro and then a suffix ic, acid. Okay? I repeat, kapag ang acid galing sa isang anion ending in IDE, halimbawa galing siya sa chloride ion, fluoride ion, what else? Sulfide ion, Ano pa ba? Iodide, ion. Ayan. Kapag galing dyan, IDE ending. Then, kapag naging acid yan, naging acid sila, simply add a prefix, hydro, a suffix, ic acid. So, yung HCl dito magiging hydro. Then, from chloride, from ide, chloric. Palitan mo lang yung IDE to ic. No? Chloric acid. Nakuha? So, ito yung difference. No? You have added an ic ending and a prefix hydro. Okay? I repeat, this is only the case if ang anion, okay, kung saan galing yung acid, ends with IDE. So you know this already. Ano yung mga anions ending in IDE? Okay, chloride, fluoride, sulfide, iodide, yun. Okay? So that's the time use hydro, prefix, suffix tayo na, ic acid. Right? So ito yung mga halimbawa. So tapos na tayo sa chloride. Okay? So ito, yung pangalawang halimbawa, di ba? This is fluoride. Okay? Fluoride. So highlight ko ha yung IDE. Change mo yan to ic. I-change mo yan to ic acid, then add a prefix hydro. Add a prefix hydro. So magiging hydrofluoric acid. Okay, ano yung formula niyan? Kapag hydrofluoric acid, you have an H+. Lagi ha, yung mga acid may H+. Then you have there fluoride minus, so criss-cross mo yan, criss-cross, so you have an HF. That's hydrofluoric acid. Gamitin mo lang yung criss-cross na concept. Okay? Para ma-derive mo yung formula ng acid. Parehas lang naman yan. May positive pole, may negative pole. Criss-cross mo lang yung numerical value. Oh, what are other examples? So, let's have, for instance, ano pa yung may ide? Let's have bromide. Diba? Bromide is Br minus. Okay? When we derive an acid from a bromide ion, so you have HBr. Criss-cross lang ha, HBr. So galing sa anion ending in IDE ulit. So use this rule. Add a prefix hydro, then the IDE will be replaced with ic ending. That's why hydrobromic acid. Hydrobromic acid. Change the IDE, the IDE ending to ic acid. Okay, hydrobromic acid. Next. So that's for those anions, anions ending in IDE. Now, for those acids naman derived from anions with names ending in ate or ATE or ITE, we need to follow this rule. Take note. If yung anion na yan, ends in a suffix ATE, so ate, yung magiging name ng associated acid would simply end with ic acid. It will simply end with ic acid. Wala nang hydro prefix. Take note. Wala nang hydro prefix. Nakuha? Kapag ATE ending, any anions ending in ATE, kapag tinanong what would be the name of the derived acid, okay, from this ATE ending na anion, then simply change the ATE. Change the ATE of that anion to ic acid. Halimbawa, sulfate. Sulfate again is SO4 2 minus. Tama? This is sulfate. That is constant. Muna ang iyahang formula of the anion sulfate ending in 8. Si sulfate, tama? Ending in 8. Now, if we derive its acid form, so lagay ka H+. Kasi nga lahat ng acids, they are being preceded by the atom hydrogen. Okay? So, criss-cross mo yan, criss-cross. So, the formula of this given na reaction of anions would be H2 2 galing yan sa numerical value ng charge ng sulfate. Okay, then SO4 lang. Okay, wala kang ilalagay na subscript. Okay, kasi plus lang naman yung kay hydrogen ion dyan. So that is the formula. Ano yung pangalan? From sulfate, this is actually sulfuric acid. Okay, ito yung magiging sulfuric acid. Okay, it's not sulfic ha. It's not sulfic. It's sulfuric po. Sulfuric acid. And you have encountered this word, diba? You have encountered this acid. Sulfuric acid. So take note ha. 8 ending. Ic acid yan. Another example. Let's have, for instance, itong nitrate. So, diba? Nitrate is ending in ATE. Diba? Nitrate is an anion ending in ATE. Okay, 8. You have there 8. So, let's derive its acid form. So, yung magiging acid form niya is, formula is HNO3. Criss-cross mo lang ha. I-criss-cross mo lang yung numerical value. So, HNO3. So, from nitrate, change the 8 to ic acid. Ic acid. So, this becomes nitric acid. So, ito yung nitric acid. So, yan. Now, what about those names of anions ending in ITE? What about those anions ending in ITE, yung ite? Then, their acid's name, okay, will now have the suffix -ose, acid. -ose, acid. So, ano yung halimbawa ng may ITE na anion? ITE, anion, halimbawa. Lagay, let's have nitrite. Okay, yung nitrite. Diba? Nitrite is one less oxygen from nitrate. So, NO2, then minus. So, that's nitrite. So, let's have its acid derivation. Okay, so criss-cross mo lang yan. So, you have HNO2. Ayan, HNO2. Okay. HNO2. So, from nitrite pala, this is nitrite. Diba? Nitrite ion. So, naging acid. Yung ITE dyan, change that to OUS. OUS. So, that becomes nitrous acid. Nitrous acid. Nakuha? Yeah, what about chlorite? Okay, halimbawa, you have yung Cl, di ba? Chlorite is one less oxygen from chlorate. So, Cl2 minus. Cl2 minus. So, you have there chlorite. This is chlorite. So, you have, for example, you are asked to name what is the name of the acid derived from chlorite ion. What is the name of the acid derived from chlorite ions? Since ending in ITE, then simply change. Kahit hindi nyo na isulat yung mga formula niya, okay, kahit hindi nyo na isulat, as long as ending in ITE yan, then change the ITE ending to OUS. Okay? So that becomes chlorous acid. Okay? Chlorous acid. Okay? Chlorous acid is HClO2. So that is chlorous acid. Nakuha po ba? Sige, ito yung mga example. So, parang dinerive lang yung mga acid forms, okay, ng 4 members of the oxyanion for chlorine. Okay? These are the oxyanions of chlorine. It's 4 members. We have perchlorate, chlorate, chlorite, hypochlorite. So, basta ending in ITE, yun lang yung i-change nyo to, ose. Diba? Ose acid. Okay, ose acid. Kapag you derived already kapag i-derive mo na yung acid formula niya. Okay, i-derive mo lang yung acid formula niya. Criss-cross lang din. Criss-cross. Okay, and then you have there kapag 8 ending, then simply change the 8 ending to ic acid. Okay, ic acid. Alright, nakuha? So, balik ta. First consideration for acids, those ending in IDE. Kapag ending in IDE, yung anions, then dinerive mo yung acid form niya. Simply, ayan, add a prefix hydro. And then, you replace the IDE ending to ic acid. Replace the IDE ending to ic acid. And then for those acids derived from ATE ending, okay, those acids derived from anions ending in ATE, ending in ITE, then this would be follows. ATE to, susulat natin ha, A to ic. A to ic. Okay? To ic. And then, huwag kalimutan ng acid na word ha. And then you have ITE to O's. Okay, O's acid. O's acid. Okay, sige, let's try the following. Let's try the following. You can type in ha, you can type in your answers. Number 1. You have, all of these are acids. Okay, obviously, these are all acids kasi they are being preceded by the symbol hydrogen, meaning they are proton donor in short. They are proton donor. So you have there, kunin mo lang yung part na to. Okay, imagine nyo, yung H dyan, tanggalin nyo. So itong mga natira on the left side, yan na yung mga anions. Yan na yung mga anions. Okay? So extract natin yung mga anions. You have there the Cn minus. Bakit minus? Again, kapag ganito, H plus, di ba? H plus, positive pole yan. So meaning, yung kasunod, yan yung negative pole. Okay? Then you have there NO3 minus. Sige. Then you have the SO4, 2 minus. Then SO3, 2 minus. So you have there already the names. Ano yung mga ending nila? Very good. This is hydrocyanic acid. Kasi this is cyanide. Diba? Recall, tingnan nyo sa list of ions nyo, this is cyanide. So ending in IDE, ano yung i-apply nyo? You should add prefix. You should add the prefix hydro. And you should change the ending IDE to ic. Nakuha? Ayaw kalimot yun. Basta IDE ending, hydro and ic acid. Hydro and ic acid. Okay. The rest ending in ATE, ending in ITE na yan. So this is nitrate. So natapos na natin to kanina. Diba? This is nitric acid. Okay, very good. This is nitric acid. Muna ni kaganina. Kaganina po ni sulfuric acid. Diba? That is sulfuric acid. Oh, what about this one? This is sulfite. One less oxygen from sulfate. That's sulfite. So this becomes, very good, this is sulfurous acid. Okay, this is sulfurous acid. Now, let's proceed. Madali na lang, diba? Madali na lang yung sa acid. Okay? Madali na lang yung sa acid. Yung kanina talaga, yung ionic, medyo heavy yun kasi you really have to memorize, no, the charges of ions. Now, let's have the chemical formulas of hydrobromic acid. Na-introduce ko kanina. Sige nga, type in your answer. Very good. It's HBr. It's HBr. Hydrobromic, so most probably, galing yan sa bromide ion. Okay, so interact mo lang with hydrogen. Basta gani na kayo ma-encounter nga acid-acid, dapat may hydrogen sa unahan. May hydrogen dapat sa unahan. So, criss-cross mo lang, then HBr na yan. Okay? Don't forget ha, upon criss-crossing, kapag na-criss-cross mo yan, dapat sa compound, okay, dapat wala na tong mga charges. Baka yung iba dyan, sinusulat pa rin yung mga charge. Okay? Wala po. Okay? Wala na po yan. Dapat ang isang compound stable, di ba? Ang compound, kaya nga na-form yung compound, kaya nga nagko-combine itong mga atoms para maging stable sila in a form of a compound. Okay? So, dapat yung mismong compound na na-form, walang charge. Walang charge dapat. Kasi nga, stable na yan. Nag-combine nga sila para maging stable sila. Yung isa nag-lose ng electron, yung isa nag-gain ng electron. Okay? So, carbonic. What about this one? Carbonic, ic acid lang. Ic acid. So, ibig sabihin galing to sa anion na carbonate. So, you have to think, ano yung formula ng carbonate? Ano yung formula ng carbonate? Tama. So, CO3, 2 minus. That is carbonate. So, interact mo sa hydrogen, okay, H plus, di ba? So, you will form there. Una pa rin yung hydrogen. So, you have H2, H2, CO3. Very good. Okay, this is carbonic acid already. Carbonic acid. Okay? Ayan. Okay? So, what about binigyan lang kayo ng name? Okay? Perchlorate. Yan lang yung nasa question. Perchlorate ion. Then, yung following choices, okay, are already in a form of acids. Okay? So, meaning, ang tanong dito, ano yung derived acid name of the anion perchlorate ion? So, ano sa tingin nyo? Madali lang, di ba? Ending in 8. So, ano yung magiging kalabasan niya na acid form? It's tama, perchloric acid. Okay, perchloric acid. I-change mo lang talaga yung ATE ending. Yung ATE ending magiging, ayan, ic acid. Ana lang. Kapag ITE ending, change that to O's acid. Huwag kalimutan yung acid ha. Huwag kalimutan yung acid. Separate word yung acid. Separate word yung acid. At this juncture, let us proceed on the names and formulas of binary covalent compounds. Before we start the naming of covalent compounds, let us first define what is a covalent compound is. A covalent compound, this is formed when you have two nonmetals that shares electron. I repeat, this is simply a combination of a nonmetal to a non-metal. Okay, so reaction of a nonmetal and a nonmetal, what happens there is there's only a sharing of electrons there, forming a covalent attraction, covalent bond. Now, in the naming and writing of formulas, we will be focusing more on the binary covalent compound. Say binary, then that means two. So, ibig sabihin, a compound that is composed of two. Okay, two nonmetals. Two nonmetals. So that would be our focus in naming covalent compounds, a binary, a two-element covalent compound. So with regards to their naming, the procedures used are actually almost similar to those used for naming ionic compounds. So the following must be taken into account. So letter A, take note that the name of the element farthest to the left in the periodic table, that is usually written first. Okay, so halimbawa, in a period, diba, you have, for instance, oxygen and nitrogen. They are in the same period in the periodic table. Now, between the two, the one that is on the leftmost is yung nitrogen. Okay, I repeat, nasa left po ng oxygen ang nitrogen. Tingnan niyo yung periodic table nyo. Therefore, if that is given, then you're asked to provide what is the possible covalent compound that might be formed. Then nitrogen will come first, followed by the oxygen. And you have to take note also that oxygen is always written last. Okay, the rationale behind this is that the most electronegative atom must always be written last. Okay, the most electronegative atom, halimbawa, yung oxygen, this is an electronegative atom, it must be written last. Okay, another rule that you have to take note in naming binary compound, letter B, if the elements are on the same group, if the elements are on the same group, the lower one is named first. Okay, so halimbawa, in a group, you have there sulfur and selenium. Look at the periodic table you have there at home, and then try to look at the elements sulfur and selenium. They're actually on the same group. They are on the same group. And as you can see there, nasa baba yung selenium. Nasa baba yung selenium. So the lower one, okay, which has actually a lower electronegativity value, that is always written first. Okay, written first. Okay, I repeat, selenium here will come first, then it will be preceded by sulfur. Okay, I repeat, the rationale behind this is just the same with the letter A. Okay, the one with the highest or greater electronegativity value must be written last. Okay, and then the one with the lower electronegativity value, then that would be written first. All right. Another thing that you have to take note in naming binary covalent compounds is that the name of the second element that is given with an IDE ending, an IDE ending. Halimbawa, between this two element covalent combination, you have there a selenium and a sulfur. So the second element there will be named based on how it is named as an ion. Diba? For sulfur, its ion name is sulfide. Sulfide. Okay. What about this one? Nitrogen, oxygen. Then the second element there is given with an "ide" ending. So oxygen, yung ion form niya, remember, is oxide. Oxide. Then letter D, Greek prefixes, they are used in indicating the numbers of atoms of each element. I repeat, we have Greek prefixes that will be used. This represents kung ilan yung atoms in each element on a binary covalent compound. And what are these Greek prefixes? Somehow you're familiar already with these Greek prefixes. Pag sinabing mono, you have there 1. Kapag di, prefix, ibig sabihin 2, tri, tatlo, tetra, apat, penta, lima, hexa, anim, and so forth. Alright? So you have to be familiar with these prefixes. Okay, so again, these are the following procedures that you have to be familiar with in naming binary or two element covalent compounds. Okay, now as you name a binary covalent compound, take note the prefix mono, this is never used in the first element. Okay, so whenever you see the formula that the first element, okay, has no subscript, okay, then you simply name that element based on how it is named in the periodic table. Okay, so you don't need to use a prefix mono for the first element. That is only used for the following element in a binary compound. Now, when the prefix used ends with letter A and or letter O, so what are examples of these prefixes? You have mono and then the tetra until deca. These are prefixes that ends with the vowel A and O. Okay, so whenever you use the prefix and then the following name of the second element begins with a vowel, halimbawa for oxide. Oxide, the ion name of oxygen, it begins with a vowel O. So what will you do is to drop, okay, the last letter of that prefix A or O. Okay, you have to drop that so that you'll not have a double vowels in a word. Okay, so let's say for example, you have here to name the binary covalent compound Cl2O. As you can see, you have a subscript of 2 for chlorine. Okay, so with this, we have to use a prefix di. This is to indicate that there are 2 chlorine atoms in the molecule of Cl2O. So dichlorine. So as you can see, you indicate there simply the name of the element Cl. Diba? Cl, that is the elemental symbol for chlorine. Okay, then the following element is oxygen. And take note, the second element must be given an IDE ending. That's why you have used their oxide. And as you can see, it now becomes monooxide because you have seen here, walang subscript, imaginary 1 lang po yan, imaginary 1. So, ibig sabihin may isang atom ng oxygen in the molecule of Cl2O. That's why you have to use the prefix mono. Ano ba yung sabi natin for the prefix mono? We have to use that only for the second element in the binary covalent compound. Okay, so upon using mono, then following the name of the second element, which is oxide, as you can see, what happens there is dinrap yung last letter of the prefix, letter O, for mono. Okay, producing the second word monoxide for Cl2O. Okay, so dichlorine monoxide. And then you have their N2O4, the second covalent compound. So these are, again, the subscripts indicates the number of atoms of each element. So you have 2 moles, 2 atoms of nitrogen. That's why it's dinitrogen here. And then once again, you have here another oxygen element in the formula. So this time you have to give an ID ending for oxygen. So that becomes oxide. And as you can see, instead of retaining the letter A ending, okay, letter A ending vowel of the prefix tetra, it has been dropped. Okay, we have to drop once again the letter A ending, okay, of the prefix if, once again, the second element starts with a vowel O. Okay, so that's in the case of oxide. So, kailangan nating i-drop yung letter A dyan. So, that becomes tetroxide. Alright, then you have here the third, and covalent compound, NF3. Okay, so nitrogen there is only an atom, one atom. So you simply write nitrogen. No need to use the prefix mono. Because again, the prefix mono never used in the first element. So you have there nitrogen, and then the second element, okay, is fluorine. So give that an ID ending, fluoride. Fluoride. So tatlong atoms ng fluorine. So that becomes trifluoride. And lastly, you have there P4S10. So we have to use prefix, no, to indicate how many phosphorus in that binary covalent compound. So tetraphosphorus. And then you have the sulfur, the ion name of sulfur is sulfide with 10 atoms of sulfur. So that makes it decasulfide. So the whole name would be tetraphosphorus decasulfide. So in this sample exercises, you can try here, try to name the following compounds. So you have here sulfur. This would become sulfur. And as you can see, 2 moles of oxygen, so that becomes dioxide. Dioxide. Okay, so you don't have to drop any vowels, okay, in the prefix because the prefix only ends with letter I. Okay, then you have there phosphorus, okay, and a chlorine and present in 5 atoms. So you have there phosphorus pentachloride. Okay, and then lastly, you have 2 atoms of nitrogen, so that becomes dinitrogen trioxide. Trioxide. oxide. Now, how will you give the chemical formula for the first covalent compound name? You have silicon tetrabromide, so silicon Si, then tetra bromide. So you have to know the elemental symbol of the element bromide. This is from the non-metal bromine, Br, that's bromine. Okay, so silicon Br4. Okay, then you have a disulfur, so sulfur, dalawa daw po. Sulfur, dalawa. Then you have the chlorine, dalawa. Okay, so that makes it S2Cl2.